So roster cutdowns happened today around the NFL, and there were some pretty surprising things to get into. From one team carrying a very surprising amount of UDFAs on their initial 53-man roster to a receiver moving on from yet another team. Let's talk about it all and more right after. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was officially cutdown day around the NFL today when every team must cut their 90-man training camp roster all the way down to 53. Literally hundreds of players were let go from their teams today, though a good number of them will wind up on somebody's practice squad, if not back on the practice squad from the original team they were just on. Roster cuts had to be submitted by 3 o'clock Eastern today. Then teams will be able to make waiver claims on non-vested vets, so players that have less than 4 years of NFL experience. The deadline to submit waiver claims, by the way, is tomorrow at noon Eastern, so we will see a lot of players on the move then. Vested vets, players who do have 4 or more accrued years of NFL experience, are free to sign wherever and don't need to clear waivers first. Basically, they are free agents. So with that out of the way, let's just get right into it. A cut that was made yesterday is starting to make a little bit more sense now, and I'm talking about the Dolphins releasing cornerback Mike Hilton. He was a guy they brought in after losing Kader Kohou and Artie Burns to season-ending knee injuries, but they relieved him of his duties today. Then today, they agreed to a deal with Rasul Douglas. It was a down year for him with the Bills last year, but he's going to raise the floor of this cornerback room in Miami and should be starting right away. As for Hilton, he's already got a visit lined up with the Colts on Wednesday, and there's reportedly mutual interest in getting him signed. So keep an eye out for that, but we've got a lot more moves to get into, starting with the Patriots. They released former first-round guard center Cole Strange today. Strange was taken 29th overall by Bill Belichick and the Pats back in 2022, but after starting all 17 games during his rookie season, an injury derailed the next 2 years. It was a torn patellar tendon that caused him to miss the last 7 games of 2023 and the first 14 games of 2024 before finally returning in Week 16 of last season. Well, he's healthy now, and with the pedigree of being a former first-round pick, he shouldn't have any trouble finding another team willing to bring him in. But in the meantime, a ton of wide receivers have been on the move lately, whether via trade or release. The Steelers released the old veteran wideout Robert Woods today, though Ian Rappaport said a door is open for a return. Either way, he plans on playing in 2025, whether that's in Pittsburgh or somewhere else. Then the Jets surprisingly waived second-year receiver Malachi Corley. Just last year, he was a third-round pick for them, but had an incredibly disappointing rookie season with just 3 catches. The Jets also had a regime change, so it was a different front office and coaching staff that drafted him. Corley is still just 23 years old, so there's no doubt he'll get some interest from other teams. We'll see about a couple of the other guys, though, like Woods. Then McCole Hardman was another one let go by the Packers today. The Browns also released Deontay Johnson, a decision that was probably made easier after they signed Isaiah Bond to a fully guaranteed deal recently. Johnson's stock has plummeted in the last couple of years, and that's putting it nicely. And get this. This is now the 8th transaction involving Deontay Johnson in the past 18 months. Since March of 2024, he's been traded to the Panthers, traded to the Ravens, waived, claimed by the Texans, waived again, claimed by the Ravens, then signed by the Browns, and today released by the Browns. It's been a heck of a roller coaster for the 6-year vet, and we'll see if he finds another home here soon. Marquez Valdez-Scantling will also be looking for a new home after Seattle released him today. The Seahawks loved what they saw out of rookie Torrey Horton, and they're high on the former UDFA Jake Bobo as well, so that means their top 4 receivers look like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, then Horton, and Bobo. From here, though, we saw several backup quarterbacks get released today, with some notable ones being Desmond Ridder, Tommy DeVito, and even Jake Haener, who was the odd man out in the quarterback battle between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. And in case you're curious, head coach Kellen Moore finally named the Week 1 starter today, with it being the second-year quarterback Spencer Rattler. So they opted not to go with Shuck, who they drafted 40th overall this spring. Maybe surprising to some, but it felt like things were headed this way, especially after Rattler got the start in the preseason finale. There were all kinds of roster moves today as well. Don't have time to get into all of them, but here were some moves that stood out to me at least. The Raiders made a couple surprising cuts today, letting go of both of their 6th-round picks from this year's draft in quarterback Cam Miller and quarterback turned wide receiver Tommy Mellott. The Steelers released cornerback Beanie Bishop, who was a UDFA last year but appeared in all 17 games and had 4 interceptions. They may try and sneak him onto the practice squad, but still, at just 25 years old, they may have to worry about teams trying to snag him on waivers. Greg Dulcich, a tight end who had a lot of promise as a former third-round pick, was released by the Giants today, which was a little unexpected after he led the NFL in touchdowns across the preseason. Now, a surprising player who did make a 53-man roster is Packers receiver turned cornerback Bo Melton. Bo was a 7th-round pick in 2023 as a receiver, but he's fallen down the depth chart at the position quite a bit. The thing is, he's a solid special teams player, so the team tried him at cornerback during OTAs, and it was working well enough that they kept him there throughout camp. And well, he's officially making the team as a corner. Crazy enough, but his brother Max Melton also plays corner for the Arizona Cardinals, so I'm sure he got some tips from his little brother. But yeah, all around, just a pretty cool story, and I'm happy for Bo. I'll get more on the Packers here in a moment because they gave a couple of notable players injury designations today. But first, this is crazy. The Vikings are keeping 7 rookie UDFAs on their initial 53-man roster, which is a league high. You can see all their names on the screen here. Pretty crazy, but congrats to all those guys for sure. The Chiefs, meanwhile, only kept 1, so just kind of shows you how far it can really go. And Minnesota is on the far end of the opposite side. Minnesota now has 11 total undrafted players on their roster, including the 7 that made it today. I will say some of that could be roster gymnastics with the team just trying to sneak them through the first round of waiver additions. Some of them may still end up on the practice squad, but we'll see about that. Now, before we get to some not so great injury news, here's a positive update. Both Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs passed their physicals, so both were activated off of the PUP list. Wirfs has been dealing with a knee injury, and Godwin is coming back from that pretty gnarly dislocated ankle. While both of them remain long shots for week 1, the fact that they will be on the active 53 is great news and means they are at least trending in the right direction. We also have some good news on Najee Harris. Najee started out training camp on the non-football injury list after a firework accident injured his left eye. There were growing concerns over the fact that he hadn't been a full participant in practice during training camp, but good news. Today, the Chargers moved him off the NFI list and onto the active roster, making him eligible to potentially play week 1. No telling if he's actually active for week 1 or not, but the fact that he no longer carries an injury designation is a great sign. I just thought I would hit on some positive news before we get to the injuries and legal updates, but here we go. The Tennessee Titans placed running back Tyjae Spears on injured reserve today, not ending his season, but he will miss the first 4 games of the season as he deals with a high ankle sprain that he suffered earlier this month. Spears is locked in as the RB2 behind Tony Pollard and was hoping to bounce back from a disappointing season after he missed 5 games with 2 concussions, an ankle sprain, and a hamstring injury. So don't be too shocked to see the Titans make a move for a running back in Spears' absence. The same goes for the Packers, who are putting running back Marshawn Lloyd on IR with a hamstring injury. So just like Spears, he will miss the first 4 games of the season as well. And this is a really new thing here. You can now place 2 players on IR with a designation to return, and this has only been able to happen since last year. Anyway, Josh Jacobs is RB1 for the team, obviously, then Emmanuel Wilson behind him, but they'll be without their RB3 to start the season. In some more injury news, the Steelers are placing Will Howard on injured reserve with a designation to return. Howard fractured his hand during practice about 3 weeks ago, and there was some belief that a move like this could be coming. I think missing a lot of training camp and all of preseason was the biggest bummer for him, as he's a 6th-round rookie and was only going to be seeing the field in case of emergency this year anyway. But with him going to IR, this opens up the door for Skylar Thompson to make the roster as QB3, at least until Howard returns. This isn't a shocker, but the Browns placed Deshaun Watson on the PUP list to start the year. He could come back after 4 games, but after tearing the same Achilles twice last year, nobody's really expecting him to play at any point this season, if ever again. So in the last few days, the Browns have released Tyler Huntley, traded Kenny Pickett to the Raiders, and placed Watson on the PUP list. And officially, their quarterback room heading into the 2025 season looks like Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. That is the proper order, by the way, because today Kevin Stefanski officially named Dillon Gabriel as QB2 ahead of Shedeur Sanders. So should something happen to Joe Flacco, seems like Gabriel will be the next man up as his replacement. On top of Deshaun Watson, another player heading to the PUP list is Commanders guard Sam Cosmi. This one isn't a huge surprise either, as he tore his ACL back in January, so about 7 months weeks ago. That's a very quick turnaround for an offensive lineman coming off of an injury like that. So the PUP makes sense for now, and they'll re-evaluate closer to week 4. Cosme is a big piece of that O-line, which is why they signed him to a 4-year, $74 million extension last offseason. So hopefully he's able to get healthy and make his return sooner rather than later. And sadly, Falcons right tackle Caleb McGarry was placed on season-ending IR today with a leg injury. It is terrible news for Atlanta, who just gave him a 2-year, $30 million extension to be Michael Penix's blindside protector for the near future. So hopefully he's able to come back fully healthy next season, because I'm sure they're still going to need him in 2026. Then flipping over to the defensive side, Cardinals rookie D-tackle Walter Nolen will miss the first 4 games of his rookie season while on the PUP list. Nolen injured his calf over a month ago now and hasn't practiced since. So I can't say I'm shocked by this roster move, but it is unfortunate, an unfortunate way for the 16th overall pick to kick off his NFL career. The same goes for Bills' first-round corner Maxwell Hairston, who's starting out on IR with the designation to return, so he too could be back week 5 at the soonest, though right now the focus is on getting healthy from a knee injury he sustained earlier in camp. Next up, the 49ers are going to be without 2 of their top wideouts for the start of the season in Brandon Ayuk and Demarcus Robinson. Ayuk will start the season on the PUP list, so he's out for 4 games, maybe more. Then today, Robinson was suspended 3 games for violating the NFL's substances of abuse policy. This stems from a DUI arrest last November, and the punishment from the league wasn't at all a surprise. Neither was the Brandon Ayuk news, but that's exactly why they've been in the market for receiver help and why they traded for Sky Moore last week. And for what it's worth, he did make their initial 53-man roster. Next, it's worth mentioning that Texans safety Jimmy Ward was placed on the commissioner's exempt list today, meaning he can't practice or play for the time being until he is removed from the list. Ward was arrested and charged with felony assault and family violence back in June, and while the legal process has been ongoing, he'll stand before a grand jury on August 30th, and we should know more following that. But regardless of the outcome, the league can keep him on the commissioner's exempt list as long as they see fit, while they conduct an investigation of their own. From there, let's say the league decides to suspend him 6 games. Any games he missed while on the commissioner's exempt list will actually count towards his suspension. Browns rookie running back Quinshaw Judkins was also facing charges for DV, but had his case no-billed and the charges dropped. Still, though, he remains unsigned by the Browns and hasn't been able to practice because of it. It was reported today that the league is still continuing with their investigation, and honestly, it's all the updates we have at this time, but we could see some sort of repercussions come his way sooner rather than later. Anyway, there were plenty of other things that did happen today, but those were some of the most intriguing that caught my eye. Let me know what caught yours in the comments down below, and with that, I'll see y'all next time.